and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Formscan in association with Boyle Sports. We're recording this on 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning, so haven't got any Tuesday results yet, but we're previewing day 2, the Wednesday. Gavin, a lot of rain in Cheltenham this morning is going to change the outlook a small bit.
Yeah, the ground, I think they're calling it soft, heavy in places, and yeah, we won't get to see. It's very important to keep a track when you're, as you said, we're recording this on Tuesday morning, but keep an eye on the times. If the Supreme is like 4 minutes or 4:10, etc., if it's 4:10, well then it's proper soft. And then, of course, there's talk about the cross-country chase, which we'll talk about later on, getting changed to Friday. Hopefully that won't happen, but we'll see. Yeah, the ground's definitely soft anyway.
Yes, I suppose kind of waiting and seeing until the morning is probably the best way to go about it now. Just see how much rain they got, because they weren't expecting, I don't think, this much when we previewed yesterday's card, but things are changing over there and it'll probably dry towards the end of the week. You'd imagine Cheltenham dries out pretty quickly, but Tuesday definitely will be soft and Wednesday could be proper national home ground as well. But we'll dive straight into it anyway. And the first race we'll talk about is the Gallagher's Novice Hurdle, the first race on the Wednesday. Ballyburn, I suppose the big news last week that he was going to go here. He looks like one of Willie's bankers of the week, but Willie's got a few other interesting ones in there as well. Atlantique comes back here after maybe slightly disappointing in the Dollars and Ace. Gavin, are you with Ballyburn here?
I would be, as you say. Willie is 5 of the 8 runners, so he dominates as usual. It's 2 miles 5. The only little thing that would worry me slightly is that, you know, Ballyburn, I hope he takes all the preliminaries fine. Watch him in the parade ring, watch him on the way down, watch him at the start. He just can be a little bit keen. He carries his head very low. Paul said it's not a big deal, but he just can be a dot keen. So I think if he behaves himself, puts his best foot forward, etc., I think it'd be very hard to beat. He's 7 pounds clear in ratings. Predator's Gold is rated 150, Ballyburn 157, and Atlantique 148. Got chinned in the Lawlers and Ace. Predator's Gold was probably a little bit keen over 2-6 in Leopardstown. Willie House has Jimmy Desoy. Keep an eye on how well Asian Master runs in the Supreme. I think he could run a decent race today for Thomas Costello, we'll see. But if he runs well, Jimmy Desoy probably isn't a 33 to 1 shot. But I have Ballyburn in a few multiples. I won't back it at 2s on because I don't back horse at that price generally. He should win, as I said. Just keep an eye on him before the race, and if he behaves himself, yeah, he'd be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, I suppose that was the kind of worry with him earlier in the year. They were saying maybe he had to go to the Supreme because he was so keen, but he's stepping up now. And interesting, he's not one of the ones from Willie Mullins who gets that new hood. We've seen him put it on plenty, so maybe they're not too worried about that, but definitely keep an eye on him in the parade ring. I kind of liked Predator's Gold here, to be honest, maybe as an outsider shot. Danny kind of has a bit of a habit of upsetting the apple cart, and like you said, he was a little bit keen over the 2 miles 7 in 2 miles 6, in Leopardstown that time, but I think just stepping back a small bit might suit him a bit better. He was a good second behind Caldwell Potter as well over Christmas, so I think maybe at 8 to 1 I might take a small chance each way on him, but definitely Jimmy Desoy. Probably keep an eye on Asian Master on Tuesday to see how he gets on, because I'm kind of like you. I think he might win a big race, especially with this ground getting a bit softer. His stamina might come into play here. Who are you backing to win the Gallagher's Novice Hurdle? Well, to start day 2 at the Cheltenham Festival, Boyle Sports are giving you money back as a free bet on all losers up to a maximum of €10. We'll go on then. It's probably an overwhelming shout for Ballyburn in that one, but small each way chance on Predator's Gold for me. We'll go on to the Brown Advisory then. Another one for Willie Mullins, who he's really, really fancying. Willie was kind of saying Factor Foil was the horse he was most looking forward to seeing this year, which is probably a statement in itself. But I thought it was very interesting that Gordon Elliott did supplement American Mike. Obviously, American Mike got the better of Factor Foil when they met first time out at Navan earlier this year. Gavin, Factor Foil, do you think he's maybe as strong as the market's suggesting?
I do. I love the horse. I think he'd be an absolute certainty in the Turners personally. I'm surprised he's running here, but that's, I suppose, connections. The owners are trying to fit various horses into various races. Just to finish on Ballyburn, one thing you have to check: have they won in soft to heavy ground? Ballyburn beat Cletus Poolaw at Christmas by 25 lengths. He's now rated 138, 139, so that was a huge performance. So ground no issue for him. Also Factor Foil here. Second to American Mike in Navan when Willie's horse improved tons for a run at that stage. He then won at Christmas on heavy and he won in soft since. So again, I don't think deep ground is an issue for Factor Foil. I think if he jumps well, which he does, he travels a little bit keen. The pace in the race here might come from Stay Away Faye, Monty Star, American Mike, etc. I think Giovinco will be held up for a late run. He has a place chance. But Factor Foil, yeah, he just looks to have a touch of class. Stay Away Faye, apologies, ran in open company the last day, and ran quite well. Third Capodanno, previously beat Giovinco. I think it was a length and a half with Sandown giving it £3. But as I said, Factify looks to have a touch class, and I could definitely see him being one of the main candidates for next year's Gold Cup. Yet to run over this trip, so that's a little bit of an unknown. But yeah, if he stays, he should win.
Yeah, you'd imagine he probably will. I think the fact that Willie made the decision so early to send him to the Brown advisory was a little bit of a statement in itself. Like the Turners probably would have been a good option for him as well. But I was a little bit disappointed to see Giovinco coming today at turning the Brown. I thought I might have gone for the Ultimate. I thought he had a great chance in that. But just to mention, I suppose the British runner a bit more, Stay Away Faye there. Obviously last year's Albert Bartlett winner. Probably one of the more fancied, I suppose, Grade 1 contenders for the English trainers this week. He probably might be maybe just lacking a little bit of class against a horse like Factified, but he did act at the track last year, I suppose.
He's wearing first-time cheek pieces. He stays forever. He'd be a massive player if he ran in the National Hunt Chase, but he's not. I think that last year in the Bartlett, the finish of that race, there was Irish horses second, third, and fourth. I personally don't think it was the strongest Bartlett. It was also on the new course, and I think this old course, you need a bit of gears. It's a bit tighter, and I think that'll really suit Factify, and I think it's against Stay Away Faye. Yeah,
probably. Yeah, I find it hard to see Factify getting beat here, and really could be really approaching the 100 winners at that stage. If he has a good day today, maybe Factify might bring it up for him, because you'd imagine Ballyburn will probably put on a good performance in the Ballymore as well. But we'll go on to maybe a trickier contest here, the Coral Cup. There's definitely no certainty in here like we've seen in the first two races. Sam Majest again leads the market for Willie Mullins. I think the BHA handicapper found the hardest to assess. Only had 2 runs in Ireland so far. Really good beating Noble Yates down in Limerick. A couple more interesting runners in there as well, though. Interesting, Langer Dan comes back here off the same mark. He won it off last year. I think burst of blood vessel last time out, though, which will be a bit of a worry for me. Did you have a strong fancy in the Coral Cup?
I do. I fancy 2 in it, but I fancy one more than the other. I fancy Sam Majest quite strongly. Has a rating of 140. 2 runs in France. Disappointed in Punchestown. Beats Noble Yates in Limerick at Christmas. The horse in third was rated 105. Since it ran badly off 107. So, as he said, the British handicapper, what rating you could come up with could have been anything between, as he said, between 130 and 150. He got an Irish rating of 140 and he left him on 140. I think that's very, very fair. He handles the ground. Any horse that can win at Limerick at Christmas, and we'll say the same for Built by Ballymore. If you can win at Limerick at Christmas, you can definitely handle deep ground. He's progressive. I know Noble Yates wouldn't be a 2.5 miler, but he impressed with the way he travelled and jumped that day. And I think he's open to a lot of improvement. He's very, very unexposed. He's only had the 4 runs. I think the fact that the ground is going to be soft, I think that's a big help. You need a lot of luck on running. There's 24 runners here. Supreme Gift is an on-runner. But with 24 runners on the old track, it's quite tight. Mark Walsh, things will have to go right from the race. You'll need a bit of luck. But if he gets average luck, I think it's got a great chance at 5-1 or 6-1. Built by Ballymore is the other one. First time cheek pieces. Has won on deep ground the last twice. To me, got into the race late, and Limerick can get into the race late at Punchestown. Wasn't knocked about. I think he's better than a 139 horse. And Martin Brazel and Sean Mulryan, they were beaten in photo finishes in this race the last 2 years. 2 years ago was fast or slow, so that was beaten a short head, and last year they were beaten ahead in the race, so I'm sure they're out for revenge. Nicky is 2 in it. Lucky Place, who loomed up against Gidley Park, is in it. Also Dottie the Great, that was 4th in the Betfair Hurdle, will definitely stay this trip. He's stepping up in trip to this 2-5. And as you mentioned, last year's winner, Langer Dan off 141, ran into Galloping Champ 3 years ago, was brought down then 2 years ago on the Martin Pike, won the Coral Cup last year, and is in here off 141. Jigoro was also in it, that ran behind a couple of good novices that will run at the Supreme. But I think Built by Ballymore, I've had something on that each way, but I've had a reasonable bet on Sam Majest each way for Willie and Mark Walsh.
Yeah, Sam Jess got a very favourable mention by Brian Hayes as well in last week's preview. I think he rode him first time out in Punchestown. Yeah, he disappointed that day, but made up for a big time, beating Noble Yates at Limerick. But yeah, I was kind of with you there with Built by Ballymore. I think, you know, the Martin Brazil, he likes to tag at the Carl Cup. He was kind of been unlucky in the last twice. Cheek pieces on first time as well should be a help for him. I'd say he's kind of half a lazy-ish kind of horse, and yeah, looks to be probably won't have plenty of improvement in him. One away winner last twice, and like you said, will handle any kind of ground you'd imagine if it gets very soft on the day. Dolly the Great, you mentioned him. Nicky Henderson mentioned him as his secret weapon. Actually, there was kind of worries he mightn't get into the race, but he got in anyway. Obviously, we're recording this on Tuesday. I suppose watch how Nicky Henderson's runners go. But yeah, Nicky seemed pretty sweet on Dolly the Great, and when he says he's a secret weapon, I suppose you kind of have to take note of that. But yeah, I'm going to go with Built by Ballymore as well. I'll stick with you there. But Sam Majest in there, obviously, with a favourites chance for Willie, could be a tough one to beat. I've seen a few tipping Brazil as well. Obviously, beat Gaelic Warrior kind of famously, I suppose, a few years ago in that Fred Winter hurdle. But little bit out of form, but wouldn't I be too surprising, I suppose, to see him turn it around under a good claimer and Aidan Kelly. But we'll go on to the next race then, the Queen Mother Champion Chase. El Fabiolo, another hot favourite in here for Willie Mullins. Obviously, emphatically beat John Bon in last year's Arkle. Has been very good so far this season, hasn't really put a foot wrong. I thought it was very interesting. Like last year, coming up to the Arkle, I think we were all, well, a lot of people were probably saying El Fabiolo's jumping might be the problem, but this year it seems to have turned around completely. John Bon's jumping seems to be getting the scrutiny now. Made a bad mistake last time, and I've seen a video of him schooling at Henderson's, and looks like he might have remembered that. Would you be worried about John Bon's jumping in here, Gavin?
Yeah, like last year, I've looked at the Arkle a few times in the last while, and El Fabiolo and John Bon both made maybe 3 slight mistakes, but El Fabiolo just has the bigger engine. So this year, when it came to the first couple of runs in the slower chase and the Betfair chase, everybody probably thought that, you know, John Bon might put him under pressure because he jumped really well. But then the last day, change of jockey probably didn't help. His mistake at the 4th last was actually his 5th mistake of the day. Just things went completely wrong. Nico de Boinville is back on board. But I don't know how somebody could back John Bon, to be honest, at 3-1, even each way with 8 runners. I think he's a lot to find. He has to jump better. El Fabiolo will have to make mistakes because he has a bigger engine. Plenty of pace in the race. Gentleman, to me, will be up there. So will Edward Stone after his emphatic win the last day. Tactics always play a huge part in these championship races. Like the champion chase every year is just... I love the Gold Cup, but I think the champion chase is probably my second favourite race of the year because they're going at 35 miles an hour, 2 miles, winging fences. You can't make too many mistakes. It's a brilliant race to watch. So plenty of pace on. I just wonder, similar to last year, could Captain Guinness maybe run on to be 2nd or 3rd out the back, let all the others take each other on a deep ground. If they go too quick, I could see it really suiting El Fabiolo. And I think, you know, when the ground is deep, distances can get exaggerated. And if I see a good price on him to win by 6 or 8 or 10 lengths, I might be tempted.
Yeah, I definitely, I find it very hard to oppose El Fabiolo as well. Like you said, Edward Stone could set it up nicely for him if he goes off hard in front. Like I think one of El Fabiolo's best performances might have been at actually when he kind of announced himself as the top novice chaser last year, when Dino Blue went hell for leather in that Dublin Racing Festival Arkle, and just seemed to suit El Fabiolo down to the ground. It helped him settle in Paul Townend's hands, and he actually, while he can kind of doesn't look great jumping, I suppose sometimes, I'd say he probably jumps better at pace, and he never really looks like he's probably actually going to fall, even though he might clatter one. So I find him very hard to oppose. I'd be a bit worried about John Bon. I don't know, was he maybe gone a little bit windy in the jumping department? But I do agree Nico will make a big difference to him. Obviously, he's not the most straightforward horse. He has these quirks, but definitely resounding a green there. And Captain Guinness, if they go too hard, he'll stay on. I think he had a defibrillating heart when he pulled up at Leopardstown at Christmas time, but came back with a nice run then at the Dublin Racing Festival, and I could see him picking up the pieces there. So he might be an each way bet in that at around 10-1. But El Fabiolo definitely very, very hard to beat in the champion chase, and looks like a good day for Willie again so far. But we'll go on to the cross country chase, as we mentioned. Kind of doubts about where this will be run on the Wednesday. Could be moved to the Friday if it doesn't dry up a small bit there. I think it's unraceable at the moment at Cheltenham, so have to see how it goes on Tuesday rain-wise. But Kevin, I suppose that will bring Cocoa Beach right into the equation. Has to be notable, though, that Jack Kennedy did pick Delta Work. He's got the blinkers on first time. Who I was actually fancying early on was Manila Indo, but with the rain falling, you might be more drawn to the Elliott runners. What's your thinking in here?
Yeah, I think Manila Indo, as you say, the ground might be ideal. He's around 2-1. I think that's a bit short. I'm going to go for Delta Work. First time blinkers, as you say. Jack Kennedy picked him at Cocoa Beach, and Galvin wants better ground. Delta Work has won this for the last 2 years. He was completely the villain of the piece back in 2022 when beating Tiger Roll, who'd won the race 3 times. So everybody was cheering for Tiger Roll, and then the same owner's horse beats it. So that was a bit of a funny one. But Delta Work, I think, has got a great chance. His form this year hasn't been overly good. I thought he might run better in the Boyne Hurdle. Galvin did run well in that. But the fact that Jack has picked him, he stayed loyal. I think he's got a decent chance. He's 11-4. I think Cocoa Beach is a bit slow. He did very well at punching on the last day. But over the last, they dawdled around. This race is 3 miles 5. They dawdled around for the first 2.5, 3 miles. And then they quicken up. When they take that canal turn for the last time, they inject a bit of pace, and you need some gears. I think Cocoa Beach could struggle in that part of the race. But for me, Delta Work, a massive chance. Willie Mullins won't be winning this. I can't see Statler winning this one. At a big price, Foxy Jacks won the handicap chase here back before Christmas over the fences. He's probably overpriced at 12 and 14-1. He'd have a squeak. But yeah, for me, Delta Work to try and make it 3 in a row.
Yeah, those blinkers going on first time, and definitely Jack picking him, because like you said, I thought Galvin was definitely an eye catcher behind Hidden Valley Lake at Navan that time. But Jack sticking with Delta Work, like Jack doesn't get it wrong too often, and the blinkers going on first time could help his chances as well. Obviously, acts on the soft to heavy ground as well. I think it was soft and heavy the last 2 times he won it, so has to have a massive shout in there. I'd like to see it dry up a bit from Lila Indo. Maybe if it was one on the Friday, I might take a chance on him, but I'll have to see how it goes ground wise. He's the classiest horse in the race, and he was definitely eye catching when he ran in that handicap over these fences back in December. So probably a wait and see how the ground goes in that one for me. But Delta Work there, probably not the worst price one at 5-2. Jack Kennedy picks him, so has to have a massive shout in that. Onto the Grand Annual then, another tricky little handicap. Willie Mullins has the favourite in the form of Saint Voy. Joint favourite with last year's winner, Mascada. I think she's coming back here for about £10 higher. Dara O'Keefe takes the ride on her. Plenty in here with good chances. Gavin, did you have a selection in this one?
I think it's very tough, Emma. I think this is really, really tough, and so is the bumper. The last 2 races on Wednesday, if you're winning a few quid going into them, I'd nearly keep your hands in your pockets, because I think, again, like the Boodles, I was saying to you yesterday, I'd let you pick 4 or 5 and I'll have the rest. It's very, very tough. Sanwa, a classy type, won the county hurdle many moons ago, has an Irish rating 150 in here off 152. Was a huge eye catcher for me in the Dan Moore handicap chase at Ferryhouse under Jody McGarvey. Jumped brilliant, travelled brilliant, wasn't knocked about in 4th. And then the last day in Leopardstown in the Grade 1, never travelled, never jumped a fence. So we'll see what Sanwa turns up. I backed him there a month ago, so I hope it's the one that we saw in Ferryhouse turns up. Mascada did one for the girls last year, beating Dino Blue in this race. Is £8 higher, must have a chance. Safarur, it'll be interesting to see how Quilixios gets on in the Arkle. He finished behind that, wasn't knocked about an ace, I thought, the last day. Madara, who came over and won at the DRF, was great to see. Runs in here off 143, jumps really well. James Reilly stays on board. That would have to have a squeak. Calico will be up in front, or Calico. Pat Duro would have a squeak. First time cheap pieces, doesn't jump really well, has a really solid engine, stayed on behind Madara the last day, but definitely would have to jump a lot better. Harper's Brook is one of the big characters in racing. Comes there cruising, doesn't find a lot. There'll be plenty of people out to lay that at short prices in running, but certainly when they jump 3 out, Harper's Brook will be right there travelling very, very strongly. Liberty Hunter, there's been a lot of money for that in the last few days. A very, very a decent horse who's got a chance. Beat Matata in a handicap, stayed on very, very strongly under Adam Wedge up the Cheltenham Hill the last day, so that would have a squeak as well for sure. I think whatever gets into a rhythm, jumping is so important in this race, particularly now that it's on the old course. It used to be on the new track. It probably pays to be, it depends if the ground gets really deep, but it usually pays to be up in the first 6 or 7 winging fences. I also want to mention a horse at 33-1 is owned by a friend of mine, Damien Dillon, the king of PRS. Gavin Cromwell trains down the bottom, so that might have a squeak. Look, really open. If I had to choose, horses like Sanwa and Liberty Hunter would certainly be towards the top of the list, but I wouldn't discount Safarur, particularly if Quilixios runs well in the Arkle.
Yeah, I thought Safarur was an interesting one as well, very unexposed. Disappointed in Cheltenham last year, I think, but yeah, obviously followed that Quilixios form. I was with St. Roy for a while in this race. Like you said, though, I think he made a bad mistake in Leopardstown that time, seemed to lose his confidence jumping completely. But if he can get back to that Fairy House run, I thought he was very eye-catching under Jody McGarvey and Mark Walsh on board this time. Willie Mullins has never won a Cheltenham Festival handicap chase. If he doesn't win Meeting of the Waters, St. Roy could give him a pretty good shot at it. But plenty in there, like you've mentioned them all. But Pat Deroe jumping might be a worry, but first-time cheek pieces for Gavin Cromwell. I'll be with St. Roy here, but have to be pretty tentative, I suppose, going into the Grand Annual. It's never an easy one to get right. Like you said, whoever gets into a rhythm should have a good shot here. It's kind of a tricky one. But last race of the day, another tricky one, the Champion Bumper. Kind of, I suppose, Willie Mullins' great record in this race. I kind of had in my head that maybe bigger prices horses seem to pop up here, but looking at the last few renewals, it's been fancied ones. Patrick takes the ride on Jasmine DeVoe in the colours of Simon Minnie and Isaac Suede, 6-1. I thought an interesting one, Seta Chance, was actually behind William Money, who Barry Connell described as the best bumper horse in the country at Navan. I actually thought he might have improved, possibly even past the Colin horse after that race. He looked quite green there. Interesting one at 16-1 for me. And I thought a Gentle Boy as well under Brian Hayes. He's actually a half-brother of Briar Hill, who won the 2013 Champion Bumper. I thought he was good in Fairy House. And I just thought it was notable that he won the same weekend as Jasmine DeVoe. And Willie Mullins made note to mention him after Jasmine DeVoe won as well in his interview, saying that our Gentle Boy actually could have more improvement to come than the double green horse. But Gavin, is it a race that you like to get involved in, or will you be taking an early break on the Wednesday?
I think if the weather's not too bad, I should go out and cut the lawn, but we'll see what happens. This is just such a tough race. My God, it's really difficult. Start with Gordon Elliott's 3. In the last week, I heard it from 3 different people that he was riding 3 different horses. And they seemed quite sure that he was going to be riding A, B or C. He's on Jalan Dudery, who beat Redemption Day at Christmas. He looks like a real strong stayer, which is what you're going to have tomorrow evening, because they're probably going to be too quick in this with 24 runners. Romeo Coolio has been all the talk. Didn't impress really in Fairies, but perhaps he's improved. The Yellow Clay will definitely have a squeak. Was very unlucky in the DRF. Behind the easy winner of Emmett Mullins's, and he was checked down the inside. He went for a run up the inside, didn't get it. Jarrett Beaumarchand, I think, will be 2-1 in this if he ran it. But you could possibly say that the Yellow Clay was the second best horse in the day. As I said, he went for a run up the inside, just didn't get it. So, and also I think Gordon has come out since to say that he will definitely have improved for that run. So all the 3 of Gordon's would have a squeak. Argento Boy, you mentioned. Cantico is probably worth a mention too. Won well in Navan. Paul Townend is riding that. Patrick was saying that he was between Jasmine DeVoe and Cantico. I think they're saying that Cantico is a very, very strong stayer. So if as we said, if it turns into a staying race, he might have a squeak. Jasmine DeVoe showed lots and lots of gears in Nace. Looks like a very fast horse. It probably wasn't the strongest event, but he won it really, really impressively. So he'd have a squeak. You ought to know finished second in the DRF Bumper. That's wearing a first-time hood for Danny Mullins and Willie. Tishan, I don't think it was very, very impressive in the point-to-point. Didn't beat a lot in Exeter or some first-time outers, etc. He's probably the best for the home team. 2 mares to mention down the bottom, Fiora Fuzil and Junta Marvel. Fiora Fuzil wears a first-time hood, was incredibly keen in the mares Bumper in the DRF and still won. So if she learns to settle, she would have a squeak too. Look, a really open race. As a selection, I don't know where I'd start. Maybe something very small on the Yellow Clay each way, but again, impossible, I think.
Yeah, you can make a case for so many of them. Like when you go through them, You Ought to Know was one who got a very favourable mention from Brian Hayes. I think he was riding work on him, and he said he wouldn't have mind getting up on him, but Danny got the ride, first time hood on him. But like you said, Fleur Facile, she was really impressive at Leopardstown. Junta Marvel, really interesting one. She actually beat a mare I really like Bioluminescence in Limerick, first time out. Haven't seen her since Punchestown last year. Rachel Blackmore on board there, so another interesting one. But I'll probably have a small each way bet maybe on Argento Boy and possibly Say to Chance. But yeah, it's not one to be getting too overboard on, I suppose. It's a really difficult race and so many in there you could make a strong enough case for. But we'll wrap it up there anyway. And before we finish, I'll get your nap and next best on the Wednesday.
I'll go for next best. We'll go for Fact to File at evens. And the nap of the day, I'll take a chance in a very, very tough race. I'll go for Sam Majest each way at around 5 to 1, 11 to 2 in the Coral Cup.
Very good. I'm going to go, I'd probably go with you with Fact to File, but I'll probably go Built by Ballymore in the Coral Cup. I think he's got a great chance in there. In a tricky enough day, plenty of difficult races, but I'll go Fact to File and Built by Ballymore. But Gavin, thanks a million for coming on, and thanks everyone for tuning into the video. If you're going to have a bet over the week, make sure to gamble responsibly, and we'll be back again tomorrow to preview Thursday's cards.
Thanks, Emma.